more about why control? How does that take us away from decon or toward?
I like the way you phrase that, away from dCon, or which moves us to cCon, centralized control.
Oh,
Everything's about control.
mm,
What you want in your life is control over your personal life and your family's lives.
absolutely.
And that's what I want. And that's what somebody in Dubuque, Iowa wants. And that's what somebody in the Bronx wants. And that's what somebody in Sacramento wants. We
Hmm.
all want to control our own lives. Control matters most to most people. It's not an overstatement that when we most control our own lives, we tend to be happy. And when we find that we can't control our own lives, we tend to be miserable,
Mm.
which is also why you saw in the last 4 years, as control increasingly got centralized and taken away from we the people, a lot of misery, a lot of anger, a lot of jealousy. That's what happens when you centralize control. Let me sort of summarize that.
Mm.
We, the people, control our own lives under decentralized control or dCon that you mentioned a moment ago.
Mm.
The government and monopolies control our lives under centralized control or cCon. You and I favor dCon. America has thrived as a Burkean nation under dCon. What we need to push back against is centralized control or cCon.
And just a reminder, decon is decentralized control.
Right. You can kind of picture it, Dalila. I think of what I call the control axis. Sometimes I picture it on a football field, but let's think of a control axis almost like a slider on your, if you're sliding something on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
You've got cCon, centralized control on the left,
Okay.
and dCon, decentralized control on the right.
Mm-hmm.
Where America has thrived is on the D25. If you think of it now, think of it as a football field, and you got a
Mm-hmm.
100-yard football field, got the 50-yard line in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
and you got 0 to 50 on the cCon side on the left, and you got 0 to 50 on the dCon side on the right.
Mm-hmm.
America has done best at around D25, about the 25-yard line, maybe the 30-yard line, midway on the dCon end of the field. So I'll give you a few ways to think about this. First of all, dCon beats cCon. Decentralized control beats centralized control. And that's because dCon is smart and virtuous. cCon is stupid and evil.
Yeah.
That's one thing to think about. dCon is natural. It assumes we're people, we're humans, we've got desires, we've got emotions, we've got goals. cCon is GMO economics. cCon, centralized control, assumes we're going to act like machines. We're not. We're not genetically modified to act like machines. We're humans. And I'll give you another comparison. cCon is Luciferian, as in the devil. cCon is Luciferian. dCon is godly.
Wow. Oh, that really draws the lines, and you know exactly where you are when you explain it like that, David.
Yeah,
Ah, thank you. And I like the football field also. I mean,
yeah.
D25, you know where that's way down
You
there.
know
I
where that
love
is,
that
right?
light touch. Yeah, I like that too.
I call the football field the Burkean Gridiron, and any of the viewers, if you go to the BurkeanNation.org website, you'll see there are some posts about the Burkean Gridiron. It shows it a gridiron being a football field. It shows as the gridiron, and so you can see D25 or Biden with C25, centralized control 20, which is the farthest left we've ever seen in America. And that is why America suffered under Biden.
Oh, so much.
We're not better off than we were 4 years ago, and that's because Biden and the Democrats, including Congress, especially, and here in California with Newsom and the supermajority the Democrats have in Sacramento,
Yeah.
they try to control everything. They try to control the cars we can drive. They try to control how much gas we put in our tanks by raising the gas tax. They try to control how we raise our children by putting the schools in between parents and their children.
Oh,
That's
yes.
all cCon. And it
Hmm.
doesn't work. And therefore, it makes people miserable because all of a sudden you can't afford life, or you're going, what's going on with my kids, or what are my kids being exposed to? It makes us miserable. And yet these smarty pants think they know better and they can control it all from Sacramento or even worse from Washington, D.C. And they can't. It doesn't scale, as we would say up in Silicon Valley. And therefore, everybody feels miserable. That's why you're not better off than you were 4 years ago. We're worse off because Biden and Newsom here in California tried to cCon everything. And like day follows night, everybody became miserable. And there, you might have been going to touch on the pandemic, and of course, that was their biggest cCon
Oh.
opportunity ever. It's like, whoo, we got a pandemic now. We can control everything. We can
Hmm.
control standing 3 foot apart, waiting in line to go into Safeway. We can control everything, and people
Hmm.
lost their businesses. It was awful.